Hello, Namaste. So today, learners, we are going to learn about pragmatism and existentialism. I am Ajay Kumar Singh from Indira Gandhi National Open University. So learner, as you know that these are the two important uh, school of ideas that we are going to understand today, at least at a very brief level, basic idea level. We will not go into deep, but we will try to just know who are the key thinker, who are the people who propagate and come out with the idea of pragmatism and existentialism. We will also try to learn that what is the difference between pragmatism and existentialism. So let us begin with pragmatism. I mean, as in daily life, somebody can suggest you, or maybe you have experience to get such kind of suggestion that, oh, let's become pragmatic. What does it mean? Pragmatic means realistic. Be aware about your reality. Be aware about your truth. Be aware about the facts. Be aware about your condition and challenges. So this is called pragmatism. So pragmatism actually focus on reality, truth, practical application of ideas in life. I mean, very tangible application. Almost though other school of thought also claim that they have a very crucial application in life. But pragmatic indeed come out with the idea, no. We just wanted to, what is the use? What is our reality? What is our challenges? What is the truth of the life? What is the constraint where we are functioning? So all these are the concern of pragmatic philosophers. Pragmatism is a philosophical movement, as you know, that include those who claim that the ideology or proposition is true if it works satisfactorily. That's the meaning of a proposition is to be found in practical consequence of accepting it, and that unpractical idea to be rejected. Whatever is useful in your life, accept it. Suppose that it is a good to learn with understanding, then please go ahead. Learn with understanding. It is unpractical to learning without understanding. Of course, sometimes there could be a question, what is the immediate benefit? What are the long-term benefit? So pragmatism is a philosophical practice, custom, tradition to understand knowing the world which is inseparable from us. I mean, we are the actor of the world. So that is what, if you go through Stanford Encyclopedia, the pragmatism provide that idea has attract a remarkably rich and at time contrary range of interpretation, including range of things that philosophical concept that should be tested via scientific experiment. So pragmatists always make their effort on whatever we know that need to be properly tested through scientific method. So there is a lot of focus on scientific experiment. When we come to the later slide, I will explain that how the philosopher who are more believe on pragmatism, they are actually more stress on project, experiment, scientific method. Another thing that also in this philosophy include that this claim is a true if and only if it is useful. I mean, whatever the truth is, it should be useful in our life. I mean, this is a philosophical theory which help you to understand what is useful. Suppose that I told you that learning science or learning art. So what way learning science is useful in your life? What way learning humanity is useful in your life? It also include that how we representing the fact. That's also articulate the language rests on a deep bed-seared human practice that can never fully made explicit. So these things are important while we are discussing about pragmatism. Now, somebody can thought that pragmatism is a key idea. I mean, there are at least on website this information is available. There is a metaphysical clubs that something around in the late 19th century in Harvard. They meet and they discuss about the various idea. Then the Paris and James saw these are the two philosophers participated in discussion along with the other philosopher, psychologist, physiologically inclined lawyer. They developed the idea and publication the idea in 1870, and they achieved a prominence through a series of public lecture given by James in 1898. So this James and Paris, these are the two philosophers who come out with this idea of the pragmatism, at least they proposed in the public discourse, and the method they name it as a pragmatism. This is what they are looking for. I mean, it is also important to understand that how these philosophers impacted on the contemporary education philosopher. In this context, it is also important to know, to understand what are the key questions that pragmatists are looking for. So, what exists in the world? What is useful? What is truth? How to make our idea clear? What effect? Which might conceivably have practical bearing? So, these are the key questions that the pragmatists factor in their own account, and these are the key questions where the pragmatists explore. They begin their own inquiry. So, the pragmatist also suggests that the pragmatism is a form of empiricism. I mean, empirical exploration is always, you can read on some other place, but whatever you can feel, whatever you can verify, our ability to think about so-called external thing and steadily improved understanding about them rest upon on our experience. That is the one of the principle laid down by the pragmatist philosopher. So, friend, learner, I mean, whatever we understand, it is based on our experience. Suppose that you wanted to understand about oxygen. So, somehow you need to feel. You need to feel your experience allow. I mean, directly or indirectly, to understand what are the oxygen, what is the how you can feel oxygen. I mean, sometimes it's not tangible, sometimes it's very difficult to feel it through our senses, but still there are scientific way to understand. Our ability, the second and the other important concern is for educationists, those who are factoring in a pragmatist philosophy, is our ability to respond reality. So they come out with a inquiry-based learning or research-led teaching, where inquiry-based learning, where the pragmatist design a classroom where learner involved in inquiry or maybe teacher involved in certain kind of research. Pragmatist is an education philosopher that say that the education should be teaching a student the things that are practical for life and encourage them to grow into better people. So these are the few aspects that pragmatists bring on the table. Now, it is also important to learn how pragmatism influences education. I mean, one of the very big philosophers called John Dewey, who chairing the philosophy position at University of Chicago. According to Dewey, education philosophy must be practical and relate to political, social, economic and educational problem of daily life. So Dewey, this is the philosophy of John Dewey. So learner, you can go on website and you can find the range of reading that are available as an open resource on website. So you can read John Dewey, but one of the key method that is important to learn is the project method that is proposed by John Dewey. Important to understand what is constitute. So project method is John Dewey is, instead of teaching through lecture method, John Dewey is in favor of creating a project where the learner involved in the project and they actually come out engagement in the project, and they engage themselves in the project. In a way, they learn various learning component that was built and designed within the project. For example, suppose that you wanted to teach about how to grow potato. So probably you can design a small project within the nursery of a school, and you can assign the task to a group to grow potato. So they can actually involve in the project, they action, and maybe 4-5 months down the line, they learn how to grow. What are the various factors involved in that? What is the role of fertilizer? How much water is required? How much potato we get in what kind of the land? So these kind of learning could be there. Similarly, other kind of learning could, for example, if you wanted to teach about the parliament, probably you can create a mock parliament, and then these kind of learning method that proposed by John Dewey. Now, it is also important to learn what are the pragmatist epistemology. Pragmatists saw their epistemology as providing a return to the common sense and experience, rather than going to a very deep and very technical knowledge. So what is our senses, experiences say? These philosophers actually not only focus to inquiry, focus to work, focus to engagement on the project, but also they are so much focused on experience. That's why you can see how experience was conceptualized in John Dewey writings. So pragmatist epistemology often explore how we carry out our inquiry in a self-controlled or fruitful way. So these are the certain aspects that you need to learn while you want to understand pragmatism. Very briefly, I also wanted to come on existentialism. Existentialism is a philosophy emphasis on individual existence, freedom and choice. So it is also, after First World War and before Second World War, so between First and Second World War, there is a lot of crisis that human civilization has faced. And there is a crisis for existence, crisis of individual existence. Even nowadays, so many parts of the world are actually facing same kind of crisis. So this crisis actually facilitated a very different kind of a scholar, include Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, and there are some very classical literary pieces that we can see in the writing of Camus, Albert Camus, who is the one of the very big literary figure. So Albert Camus novel, you can also read some of the Albert Camus novel that is translated in various languages, and you can see how the existence of individual are being conceptualized in the writing of these scholars. So actually this is the crisis of First World War, then Second World War, then these scholars come out with the new idea that existence, my existence, this world exists because I am existing. So in view that the human define their own meaning in life, nobody, I can't allow to other to define meaning of my life. Try to make a rational decision despite existing an irrational universe. There could be a problem, there could be a social problem, but I wanted to totally focus on my choice, my freedom, my existence. So these things are the major focus of existentialist philosopher. So existentialism concern itself with finding the way to explain individual human experiences, focusing like a lesser on what it means to exist as an individual human being in universe we don't understand. That quotation I have taken from the website by Jack Madden. But this writing help us to visualize that existentialism is very much concerned or very much related with the individual empowerment. Now, how one individual responds to the big problem like war, like exclusion, politics. So in this philosophy, you can find out the several traits where a individual group or individual positioning help you to spell out your problem, your freedom, your choice. I mean, one of the key philosopher in this discipline is Simone de Beauvoir. Her famous book is about second sex, where she tried to propose that being a woman is not a natural phenomena, but it is a social phenomena. What does it mean? It means that society continuously force you, society continuously compel you to feel like a woman, but she don't want to feel like a woman. She wanted to reject all those exclusion, suppression and domination which are imposed due to the male dominated society. So this philosophy is actually help us to formulate our own positioning despite our capacity and capability. We are individual. We must have individual choice. We must have individual existence. We must have individual freedom. So this is the whole range of idea that was encompassed within the existentialism. So existentialism is more about our capacity to engage, to fight against the mass level domination, mass level exclusion. So this is what the way existentialist philosopher thinks about their own positioning. Now, while we are trying to conclude this a brief lecture about pragmatism and existentialism, we also try to conclude, I mean, how these two philosophies are different. But before that, it is also important to learn how actually, existentialism conceptualize education. So within the existentialism, if you are designing your education process through existentialist philosophy, you have to have designed some of the learning method and some of the learning content which enable individual as a capable individual to respond his or her positions in the society. So I mean, existentialists always focus on nurturing individual, capability building of individual. But still there are, and as we discussed, the pragmatists are actually more focused on what is useful. So useful is not always about the responding your position. Useful is always sometimes accommodating. So one hand, existentialism help us to respond a society which is full of industry domination, whereas pragmatism actually help us to nurture ourselves, how to accommodate, how to cope with industrialist society. So these two philosophical positions actually, though to some extent seems similar, but there is a key difference between them. Pragmatism is the pursuit of the practically over static qualities, concentration of fact rather than emotion or ideas. I mean, whereas existentialism is a 20th century philosophical movement emphasized on uniqueness of each human existence of freely making its self-defining choice. So, in case of India, suppose that you wanted to be pragmatic, then probably you as a Dalit, you need to find out that what is the various program which help me as a Dalit. But as an existentialist, you need to find out the way to respond the historical process of domination over the Dalits. So, I mean, two philosophy on one hand, one philosophy help us to accommodate with the existing reality, cope with existing reality, where other philosophy respond to the help us to respond to the existing situation. So pragmatic believe that the reality is a process, and therefore the goodness is found by trying things out and finding out that work. Existentialism believe that reality must be defined by each autonomous individual. So, I mean, pragmatists are always think about the world. What is the going on now? I mean, today is that there are a lot of focus on software industry. So I need to learn software. But whereas existentialist can think, existentialist can also learn software, but with a different objective to respond a society which is full of software. So pragmatic believe that reality is the process, and therefore that goodness is found by trying the things outside of the world, as we already told in the previous slide. But existentialists believe that reality must be defined by each autonomous. So this is what the things that we wanted to nurture. I mean, we continuously repeating this proposition: the outside of the world and autonomous individual. So outside of the world and autonomous individuals, both are important. I mean, so somehow when we wanted to conclude this debate, it is important to learn how that pragmatism help us to cope with the society immediately, that the cope with the society which surrounded us, whereas existentialism help to respond a society which actually dominating us. So these are the brief idea about existentialism and pragmatism. Thank you very much.